I think there's a lot that chefs in the U.S. can learn from the UK food scene. One is the fact that in the UK, it seems like plant forward is just integrated into the menu more. It's not something that's separate, that's an afterthought or a second part of the menu. In the UK, it seems to be more homogeneous, and I like that quite a bit. In the UK, there's so many ingredients that inspired me, from their fresh tomatoes. We were there in the spring, which surprised me because that was the peak of their tomato season, to their asparagus, to the deep flavored vegetables that they use that you don't see used as often in the United States, such as celeriac and eggplant, are going to become much more popular as people realize with a little technique you can create beautiful flavors from these vegetables. Lastly was execution. Even the simplest things, such as sauteing a piece of asparagus, they were really involved in the execution of that skill and taking it to the very highest level. And that makes all the difference in the world in any type of cuisine, whether it be plant forward or anything else. So as far as techniques with the vegetables that I saw in Europe that I think are definitely destined to come to the U.S., and in a lot of areas they already are here, it's the treating the vegetable with respect and really putting the same effort into the preparation and cooking and development of flavor in that vegetable that you would with a beautiful piece of meat or a great piece of seafood. That's really it. It's not about a specific technique, because we're charring, we're fermenting, we're smoking and curing and doing all kinds of techniques in the U.S. that they're doing anywhere else. But it's that care that goes into it, and that putting that same technique and same dedication towards your vegetables as you do towards your proteins. So for example, very simple techniques such as at Gautier, when he cooked asparagus, the simple way that he did it, he had this beautiful spring asparagus, really nice, thick, wonderful asparagus. They hand peeled it, they sauteed it, and used a little bit of broth, vegetable broth, and just really put all their energy into this very simple ingredient, and it was beautiful. It came out unlike any asparagus you ever have. Not only the flavor of it, but the color and the texture and everything you got from it because of the way he cooked it was wonderful. I definitely think the U.S. market is ready for vegetables at the center of the plate. I think the analogs have a place and had a function that they've served very, very well, which is introducing people to plant-forward cuisine. But ultimately, people just want a great dish. And a great dish of vegetables is fantastic if it's just a great dish of food. And I think we're ready for that. I think you see that on both coasts quite a bit. You see it a little bit less often in the center of the country, but it's coming along. People are getting used to the idea that plant forward doesn't have to be an alternative meat protein. It can just be great vegetables. So there are many dishes throughout our time in the UK that impressed me tremendously, and I absolutely enjoyed to the depth of my soul. One of the most innovative dishes that I saw in the UK was a salad at Van der Lyle, which when he explained it to us and described it, I thought this is just going to be a plate of confusion. There were so many ingredients in it, and it sounded like it was just going to be this massive plate of confusion. I really did, but it turned out to be absolutely beautiful. It was sublime in its execution. It wasn't huge, it was small, and it was really just a taste of everything spring. It was wonderful, and everything worked together beautifully, and it was just excellent. I was really impressed and surprised by it. Another one of Van der Lyle that I really liked were his stuffed morel mushrooms, his mushroom plate, stuffed morels and king oysters grilled, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful dish. The food at Pied à Terre was wonderful, just wonderful, beautiful flavors. BB, all of them were, every place we went, there was something that inspired me and impressed me in the flavors and the execution of what they made. I chose the ingredients that I worked with today and the techniques that I used because I was impressed by them when I saw them in use and executed at such a high level in the UK. A perfect example is the potato dish we did today with the smashed potatoes. We had those at a couple of different restaurants with our meal in various forms. And they were just so simple and so tasty and so great and so easy to execute. I thought, what a beautiful way to create something similar to what we do in the U.S., like a loaded fry, or even you could call it a nacho, but take it to a new level with plant forward with the roasted vegetables and the pickled tomatoes to give that beautiful brightness and tang against the depth and richness of the roasted vegetables and the crispiness and saltiness of those potatoes. So loaded smashed potatoes was a very, very simple dish. Simply boiled potatoes, baby potatoes that are smashed with a fork, deep fried, seasoned nicely so they're a little salty. With that, we did roasted broccoli, roasted cauliflower, roasted cremini mushrooms, as well as some pickled heirloom cherry tomatoes. So the earthiness and depth of flavors of the roasted vegetables, along with the brightness and wonderfulness of the pickled tomatoes and the crispiness and saltiness of the potatoes. So with all these flavors of the potatoes, what really ties it all together is that spicy mayo from Hellmann's that goes on top. It just brings all those flavors from the deep depths to the brightness together. Just made for a wonderful, simple dish that anyone could execute anywhere. We were at a restaurant called Bubala, and they did this beautiful roasted eggplant dish. It was wonderful. And they also had hummus that was just beautifully smooth and creamy and delicate and exquisite. And I remember when I was growing up, my father used to say eggplant was the worst vegetable in the world because the only way he ever had it was boiled and eat it, which a lot of people love it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But you take that same eggplant and you grill it and sear it and develop the char on the outside of it, and it gets this wonderful smoky flavor to it. It's so deep and rich and beautiful. And it's a wonderful flavor profile and a great vegetable to work with. That inspired me to put those flavors together and take it to a different space. Again, very simple. It's just a naan bread as a base, along with a hummus made with chickpeas and beets, and then the eggplant, which you char slowly and really develop flavor with that char, and then peel it, open it up, butterfly it, dredge it in flour with a little salt and pepper and pan fry it. And that goes on top of the flatbread, on top of the hummus. A little nice tahini and tamari aioli made with Hellmann's vegan mayonnaise, drizzled on top of that, and microgreens on top of that. The grilled eggplant flatbread was one of my favorite dishes of all of them because of its simplicity and the depth of flavor that it has. It's just a great dish. So the vegan BLT I really love because of its simplicity. Somebody suggested this to me. This wasn't my idea. They suggested wouldn't it be cool if we could do a vegan BLT, and I said that's a great idea, and then I kind of ran with it with some inspiration from not only what I saw in the UK but also what we saw in New York. So the vegan BLT was a beautiful sandwich. It was made with beautiful heirloom tomatoes that were at the peak of ripeness, fresh arugula, Hellmann's vegan mayonnaise, which is a wonderful vegan mayonnaise. It's a great mayonnaise, period, whether it's vegan or not. And then also the bacon, which was made from portobello mushrooms, which had been brined in a special brine and then smoked. And they came out wonderful with this beautiful texture and this great flavor and wonderful smokiness to them. It just made we put all of this onto a multi-grain vegan bread, and it was just a great dish. So the scallops of celeriac with saffron sauce was a dish that I created because I saw celeriac everywhere in the UK. And I personally hadn't worked with it that much myself. I had a little bit, but not a lot. And I just thought that would be kind of a cool way to do it. So celeriac, which had been sous vide, cut into scallops shapes, brined, and then sous vide with butter for several hours until they were wonderfully tender. And then they get seared in butter and browned on both sides. And then the saffron sauce was made with Legout cream soup base with a little Pernod and saffron and white wine and shallots. And it was just a nice, beautiful, elegant little sauce. And then with the simplicity of that dish, I wanted to keep it that way. So we just used some broccoli rabe that was freshly steamed. Very simple dish, very clean dish, and I liked it. Very elegant. Yeah, the vegetarian charcuterie board was a dish that I really enjoyed putting together. Now, there's a couple things about this dish. It's very complex, I must say. And I don't really expect a lot of people to create a totally vegetarian charcuterie board. But what I like is all the components on that board could be utilized in a board anywhere to make a charcuterie board more plant forward than it is. My favorite item on the charcuterie board was the terrine, which is made with smoked celeriac and potato and wild mushrooms with morels and spinach and just it's a wonderful filling, lined with chard and made a wonderful terrine. And it was fun to make. I used agar-agar in it as the adhesive. and it was a fun dish to make. And then we had the smoked peppered beets, which are kind of leathery in texture and kind of like a dried beef. We had pastrami cured portobello mushrooms that were smoked. We had the heirloom tomato chutney. We had the hot honey aioli made with vegan mayonnaise. We had the my mustard, which is a perfect accompaniment to any charcuterie board. So I really enjoyed putting that dish together, creating that dish and developing it. And like I said, whether you did an entire vegetarian charcuterie board or whether you took one or two of those components and added them to your charcuterie board to make it more plant forward, I think it's a step in the right direction. So that's an example of why I chose a particular ingredient and a particular technique. The simplest recipes were the ones I enjoyed the most. One of the nice things about UFS products is we have a whole array of products that are appropriate and work really well in plant-forward cuisine. Everything from our ovo-lacto-vegetarian cream soup base to our vegetarian bases. For example, with our BLT today, we used our Hellmann's vegan mayonnaise and our liquid concentrated vegetable base. It's a perfect example of using them in a dish. It's totally plant-forward and a beautiful dish to boot. With our scallops of celeriac with saffron sauce today, we used our cream soup base from Legoo, which made a beautiful sauce for these celeriac dish. You know, our my mustards are beautiful accompaniments or ingredients in sauces and dishes also that can be plant forward. We used ours today. We used my mustard in our scallop dish as well as on our charcuterie board. So we have a lot of products that work.